Hey everyone, welcome to the Leader's Edge. I'm your host, Steele. Where we dive into insights and principles that will supercharge your leadership and ignite your personal growth. Now, whether you're a budding entrepreneur or a leader navigating change or a seasoned pro, this show is for you. Each episode is packed with practical strategies designed to elevate your mindset and apply your leadership impact. So get ready for some actionable tips that you can put into practice immediately. A huge shout out to all of our amazing listeners. Thank you for your unwavering support. So let's get started and unlock your true potential. My. Today, my guest is an author, speaker, coach, and founder and owner of O'Neal Coaching and Training located in Kerrville, Texas. He is a Zig Ziglar Legacy Certified Coach and trainer. He has co-authored the book Road Trip with Tom Ziglar in 2021. And in addition, he serves on the board of directors and was 2021 and 2022 president of the Morning Rotary Club of Kerrville, Texas. He's a member of the Salvation Army Advisory Board and a veteran of the United States Air Force and a former certified public accountant. Everyone, welcome from the green room, my friend and coach, Kenneth O'Neal.
Good morning.
Hey, Kenneth. Good to see you, brother.
Is it morning where you are?
Oh, yeah. I think we're just down the street from each other. I don't know. You're in Kerrville. I'm in Fort Worth. So, yeah, it's morning still here.
Okay, great. Good to see you. Thank you so much. So honored. Oh, such a privilege to be with you. Yes.
Well, thank you for being here. Today was like a kind of an odd day. We had to quickly jump on. And so usually we have a little time to debrief a little bit. But how are you doing today? You doing okay? Everything going well with you?
Everything's going great. It's super. The weather is beautiful, clear skies. It's really great.
Good.
Had a great, remembrance for Memorial Day, remembering those that fell for our freedom. And had a great show on Monday about Memorial Day and how
wonderful,
how we're so blessed.
That's right. Well, we're going to talk today about a couple of things here. We got two books that we're going to discuss a little bit today, and I've entitled this show a little strange. It's called The Out of Balanced Life. That's what we've entitled this show. So, Kenneth, I guess before we start out, what I really like for kind of share with me, because I've got your book here, and I'll let you kind of introduce it a little bit, but kind of tell us a little bit about your childhood. You grew up. I knew your grandma had a great influence on you. So kind of tell us a little bit about that and when we get started into the show.
Okay. Years ago, I was born on the Air Force Base at Warner Robins, Georgia. And my dad had been in the United States Marine Corps. And he was the head of the motor pool while he was in the service. And so his skills and effort were working on major pieces of machinery, vehicles, and everything. And so we had we just traveled all over Georgia every time because he was working for the road department. And so we would move from location to location. And unfortunately, my sister, who was 2 years younger than me, she had infantile paralysis. And so she was bedridden, and my mother spent 24/7 taking care of her. And so my parents and my grandparents got together and said, we need to let Kenneth maybe go to the farm in South Georgia, especially during the summertime. And, so he'll have some people to play with, and he's not just sitting around.
Yeah. How old were you? How old were you at this time, Kenneth?
I was 5 or 6.
5 or 6 years old.
5 or 6.
Ship you off to the farm at 5 or 6 years old. Okay.
Get me to the farm. That's right. But, and you'll see how all this comes together. It really does come together. And going back those years here. But so I got down to the farm, and one day, you're doing things on the farm with your grandmother. I mean, I'm shelling peas and helping her in the kitchen and sitting on the porch with her as she rocks. And so one day she told me, she said, Kenneth, I want you to go down to the tomato garden and pick the weeds out of the tomato garden. Can you do that? I said, yes, ma'am. I went down there in about 5 minutes. I came back. My grandmother looked at me and she said, Kenneth, you did not finish those rows. I said, oh, grandmother, do you see how long those rows are?
Yeah.
And she said, Kenneth, we need to start your lessons in gumption today. And
Wow.
gumption, it's an older word. We don't use it much anymore, but it basically means your initiative, your curiosity, your creativity, your decision making. And, you know, it's related a great deal to grit. Okay, so you gumption and you grit and staying in the game for a long time. And she looked at me and she said, Kenneth, there are no short rows in life. There are no shortcuts. And we have to have a plan. We got to be specific about our plan. And so we have to make that decision. You know, one of the generals who was head of, I think, the Marine Corps Commandant, I think he was, and he wrote a book, Make Your Bed. And that's
yeah,
you remember that book?
Oh, so, yeah, I've seen that book. Yeah.
Okay, so that's gumption. Make your bed. Get up every morning, make that decision to get up, get out of bed, make your bed. So you've accomplished something right away. And that puts our in motion to win the day. You win your morning, you win your day. You win your day, win 7 of them, you got a week. Win it 30 times, you got a month, and do that 12 times, you have completed a year.
Right.
Of being the right person, doing the right things. And you can have everything in life you want. Remember, Mr. Ziegler said that you can have everything in life you want by serving and helping other people get what they want.
That is so true.
Great. That is just great servant leadership. That's what that is.
So true. So true.
This book of the Circle of Gumption.
Yeah, actually, let me just kind of throw it up there. So
yeah, put it up there. Yeah, there you go.
It's called the Circle of Gumption. Yeah.
Right.
Can you get this on Amazon?
Yes, it's still there, still being printed. So it's going from a transaction life to a transformed life.
Yes, yes.
In the book, I talk about the dastardly D's of life. You got disillusion, disruptions, you got disease, you got divorce. And divorce is what happened to me in September of 2015. And that's when I realized that my life was out of balance. My life was not a total circle.
Right.
Complete. That's what the word circle means. I mean, look at your wedding ring. It's a circle. There's no flaws in it. There's no gaps. It is a complete circle. So that's an important word for the title of that book, Circle. And so I went through 6 or 8 months of just being totally, totally broken. And during that period of time, someone asked me to give a speech at a hospital. And I said, I'd love to. And when he was telling me how great it would be, 300 beds, and they got a great staff, and we want you to talk to them. And I said, where is this hospital? And he said, it's in Rwanda. I said, Rwanda? I said, that's Africa, right? He said, yeah. I said, no, my grandmother told me I don't have to go to Africa to become a Christian. And this guy looked at me and he said, Kenneth, God changed his mind. So we were only going over there, Steve. We were going for 10 days. All right. You can go anywhere for 10 days. Okay. I ended up staying almost 40 days.
Wow.
I fell in love with those little kids. We were working with orphan kids taken off the street, and each one of them had a caregiver. And so because of my CPA background, I went over there to help them raise funds so they could take care of the kids. So we started 7 or 8 little businesses while I was there. And so, but I finally, I came back, and it was in January. And really and truly, the only reason I came back because I was on the staff of an academy preparatory school at the university. And my students were coming back after their winter break. And so we came back, and at that time, that's in 2016, and I put together the Ziegler programs, all of the programs that I still teach and coach today and work with my clients, and I put it into the school curriculum for the students. And of course, and it's talked about in the. You don't have a copy of this book, right?
No, I don't have a copy of that one.
Okay,
that's
this is
your newest book.
This is the newest book, Balancing Crisis. Mm-hmm. And so, anyway, we put that system. You know that over 50 years ago, Zig Ziglar invented and created what I think is the greatest tool for personal development today, even. And we use it in our coaching. And it's the 7 spokes on the wheel of life.
Right.
So it goes through those 7 steps. You're very familiar with them. But the mental, the spiritual, and the physical, those are the 3 most important. And I believe that whether you're in business, no matter what kind of business you're in your life, you need to have the alignment of those 3 things every day, because all of your actions that you take every day, those steps, what you do today will create the future you deserve.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yep.
And so that's why I believe you have to, as Ziegler said, you have to prepare to plan. Set your mindset. Okay, I'm going to spend this time planning. Planning is so important. So important to sit down, do some reflection. Where have I been? Where do I want to go? And make that decision of the kind of life you want. And of course, I'm pushing for this life of balance in everything you do. And you can get out of whack. And so in the book, Balancing Crisis, I took a systems approach, a system. You have to have the plan of what you're going to do. Mm-hmm. And so the 7 spokes on the wheel of life, I took and put it on the desk. It had a circle, had the 7 spokes. And then I looked in the middle. All wheels have a hub, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so in the hub, there are 3 spokes: the body, the soul, the spirit.
Right.
Now, your body is your energy. It's your discipline. The soul, that's your emotions. That's your feelings. And then the spirit, of course, is your faith and your moral compass. Mm-hmm. So now 7 plus 3, we got 10 spokes. And then in the book, so that we can have balance between your professional life, no matter what you do, your professional life, your work, we want to make sure it is aligned with your home life. The quality of your home life will create the quality of your work life. 5 spokes, and that is leadership. You and I know leadership is relational, and leadership is the responsibility of the person that is at the top here. And the leadership responsibility is to create an atmosphere so all the other team members, they can actually continue to grow and grow a little bit every day so that they actually become the best person that they can become. So you got leadership, you got marketing. Everything you do in marketing is for bringing in a client or a customer. Then you got your revenue or your sales. Then you got your process. What do you do? Are you a retail person? You're a service person? Do you manufacture? And then, of course, the last one would be your administration, your financials, your budgeting, all of the things that we help create with our business clients. And so that gives you 15. Now, the book has 15 chapters in it. And so you get the book, and we have a system of, and whatever it is, we covered 15 topics. And the first one is the system of internal control. Now, this is where this whole idea actually came from. It's that as a certified public accountant, every time we would go out to a new client, we would want to know, what are the systems? What is your cash system? Do you have a procedure that you deposit your, back in those days, do you deposit your check every day? You don't put them in a drawer and leave them. You want to get it to the bank as fast as you can. Of course, today with the technology we have, but it's still the same idea of getting the money to the bank, whatever it is. So the system of internal control. And we used to do an evaluation. We would use questionnaires, we'd use flow chart, we would do discussions, and we would ask really deep, difficult questions. We want to know, how are you running this business? And we would actually give an evaluation or an opinion on the system of internal control. Now, the way I looked at it when I started writing this book, okay, the businesses, they have internal control. So you have internal control in your body, your soul, your spirit. And so all of this comes down to compliance is a great word. Your system, once it's in place, you have guidelines, you have rules, you have processes, and we have them. And it's most important that we have it for our life. What do we do every day? And I got a great friend named Bob Bodine, and he helps us start that. He said, get up every morning and go sit down and place a chair for you and a place for God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have a discussion with God.
Yeah.
And you ask God, do you know my circumstances? Mm-hmm. Well, sure, we know he knows.
Mm-hmm.
Can you help me? Are my circumstances too big for you, God?
Right.
Oh, he knows.
Yeah.
And then the third question, what are you going to do today, God?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we pray, God, help us over our journey and continue to bless our loved ones. And so that morning start, remember what I said, you make your morning, you can make your day.
Right.
And so some people spend an hour, 2 hours doing that morning where they're meditating, maybe they're listening to good music, they're reading a motivational biography, just starting that day of reflection. And then we always say during that same time, you've got to review your plan and what are the top things you're going to do today. And when we're talking about this, the biggest thing, is you have to create that plan. And so, one of the workshops that we have is setting goals and achieving those goals. It should be called, what do you really want out of life? What do you want?
Yes.
What do you want to do? Yeah. What do you want to be? What do you want to have? So we have everybody go through that. And the tool that is actually used, of course, is the wheel of life. And now with my clients, I use the wheel of balance, the one that has the
right.
So are you beginning to see how this is all coming together?
Yeah. So you made a really good link between the first book and the second book, with the first book and second book being the system of how you coach and what you're doing, right? So
right.
It's a good link. So we're going to take a quick break, Kenneth. And
okay.
All right. Take a quick break. But when we come back, though, I want to discuss a little bit about the pillars in action in Gumption. I want to talk about that.
Okay.
All right? When we come back, we'll be right back to the Leader's Edge.
Are you ready to elevate your organization with a team of transformational leaders? Do you want to attract and nurture top talent while enhancing communication and productivity across generations? Hi, I'm Steve Steele, co-host of The Leader's Edge, and your coach with the Maxwell Leadership Team. My program equips leaders with essential skills and resources to lead, coach, and communicate effectively, ensuring everyone thrives. With tailored insights and proven strategies, I'm here to help your entire organization succeed. So reach out today at growthinleadership@gmail.com or visit johncmaxwellgroup.com/Steve Steele.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Leader's Edge. I'm Steve Steele, your host, with our special guest today, Coach Kenneth O'Neal. Kenneth, thank you so much for this. That was a brilliant way of putting the two books together. How you moved from one book, from your childhood and what you learned in your childhood, to Gumption, to Circle of Gumption, and then finally to your last book that you just shared with us. What's the name of it again? Show us again the name. Yes, Balance in Crisis. Yeah.
And it's all about building that alignment and that balance through proven systems and disciplines. You got to have self-control and discipline. Yeah.
And I want to come back to that Balance in Crisis in just a little bit, but I want to talk a little bit about some of the stuff in Gumption, because the Circle of Gumption is really a brilliant book. I actually loved it. It was good. But Kenneth, you wrote in there, I think it was like the first section even, you got into it. You talked about the pillars in action. Now, tell us, what are those pillars in action and how do we apply those?
Okay, so I think what you're talking about here from the front of the book is that the book really talks about beginning.
Here it is. There's the book. There's the book.
There you go. And it came, when I went to Rwanda and saw what they were going through and what they had been through. Only 20 years before, they had the genocide in Rwanda. Mm-hmm. And I kept visiting with the people there and talking and working and helping the children. And they were so happy. They were so happy. And so it caused me, here I was thinking that I was going over there to help them when I was the one being blessed, because my life was out of balance in the things that I'd been doing these years. And so one day a little boy gave me a piece of bread. That was probably all he had, but they were happy. They were singing, they would dance. They just really, really great. So I got to thinking about it, and the world forgot Rwanda in 1994. Mm-hmm. NATO kept saying, don't call it genocide. Don't call it genocide, because within the agreements, they would have had to send in everybody. And they killed over 1 million people in 100 days. Mm. And so the question is, do human beings really care for humankind? Right. Do we really care? And there's 3 examples there, I think, is the Good Samaritan from the Bible. We talk about that, mm-hmm. and how he came and he helped. He put the gentleman, the injured person, put him in the hotel and said he'd take care of him when he came about. So that shows that people care. He cared. Mm-hmm. And then there's a very, very sad story in there about the guy that wrote all the folklore songs, She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain and all those in the late 1880s. And that was, what's his name? Stephen Foster, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And so he was actually murdered in New York, and they took his body to the Bellevue Hospital, which is for the poor and indigent. Mm-hmm. He laid there for 2 weeks in the morgue before anybody ever identified him.
Wow.
So here you have a man that had written over 200.
Yeah, it was like Old Susanna. He wrote Old Susanna, Camptown Races.
Right.
Wow.
And nobody came for him. Finally, a friend of his did come. But why? Why did nobody show up? Why did no one come to take care of him?
Mm-hmm.
And so, do we really care?
Mm-hmm.
And it always brings me to the virtues of life. And I've been doing a lot of work and speaking on the word kindness. And, kindness is, I believe kindness is for always. I've heard people say kindness, do a random act of kindness.
Right.
But in reality, if we really care for people, we're going to be kind always, even if we disagree with them.
Right.
Okay, one of the biggest pillars in the circle of gumption is communication in action. And I believe we are lacking in effective communication. In the world we live in today, we're so busy. We've got so many technological things that should be helping us get a lot done, but we're getting further and further away from communicating with people. And so I think that it's all about an intentional conversation. That is not saying at your workplace, well, we're going to have a meeting on Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Communication is where we are going to have intentional conversations about things that mean and they matter. They're meaningful to our lives.
Right.
And I have a manuscript that's about 75 to 80% complete. And the working title of this next book is called We Must Have the Great Debate. But the word debate to a lot of people, it's maybe too aggressive, maybe sounds a little negative, competition or whatever. And I don't want that feeling. But these topics that we should talk about is God, sex and money, religion, relationships, and politics. Now, I was at a university in South Carolina doing a workshop on effective communication, and there was a lady stood up and she said, no, those 6 topics are unmentionables. Unmentionables. But think about it, Steve, if we had a couple that were in their early 20s and they were thinking about getting married, don't you think a great conversation would be to talk about God, talk about sex, talk about money? I mean, one of these people might be a spender. The other one might be a saver.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
All right. And then we need to, relationships are so important and we should create them. And we should have winning relationships. And I believe that the only way that you can have winning relationships is that you communicate. And that word communicate actually has a word that's similar to it. And you and I have talked about this before, is on community.
Oh, yeah.
Now, right now, we've got a community of people listening in, but there's a community here of me and you. And you and I have been together several times. We've had meals together. And in a community, there are 3 things that are required. And the first one is support. We have to support everybody in the community. And then we have to give them encouragement. And then third, and this is a biggie, is accountability.
Yeah.
All right. And Tony Dungy, when he's talking to his football players, you've heard this story where he asked them, he said, can I hold you accountable for your goals that you've set? Can I hold you accountable? But the big thing about the support is that you really cannot support something or someone without knowing what they stand for, what they believe. And the only way you're going to get there truly, is to communicate and ask questions, talk to people. How's your family?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how was your weekend? Did you go boating like you were thinking about? You know,
Right.
and what is meaningful to these people? So the communication is, and talking in the book about how important it is to go. And I think I even use in the book that I am a facilitator and a mediator for the court system. And one of the big things we do is say, hey, so that we can settle this, you have got to drop your bias, drop your prejudices, clean the slate, and let's have a discussion. And we can love and care for people, even though we disagree with them. And we must have those kinds of conversations.
Kenneth, why do people find that so difficult?
I think it's the two things that I think are the biggest reasons is low self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
People don't believe in themselves because for so long as they were growing up and their parents would do this to them, they didn't do it intentionally and they didn't do it to be mean. They were trying to protect their kids, but they heard, no, don't do that. You can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think you can do that? All that negativity that goes up as we've been talked over the years, you know, don't talk to a stranger. You remember when you were told that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've heard people say when a person is coming toward me and they've got on a hoodie or whatever, I'm going to step to the other side of the street. So we have created a lack of confidence, all right, a lack of belief, a lack of trust, and all of those things. To support the community, you've got to have those things. You've got to believe in the people, and then you can support them. Well, we're not supporting it because of the lack of confidence and the low self-esteem. Zig Ziglar said that the biggest problem in the whole world was people's low self-esteem. Because
right?
People, you know, we're born to be winners. We're born to excel. Yeah. We've got everything in us. You know, everything that you need is already with you. It just has to be recognized, put into a plan, and then every day do it. Every day do it. And so you have to be specific about it, not, I think Ziegler called it being a generalist. And you can't do that. You've got to be specific and you've got to have a plan. And my kids at the academy, we would always say, plan your work and then work your plan. Mm-hmm. And do it. And see, we talk about time management. And I think that's another one of the topics in the book is time management. And, you know, that's just a misnomer, Steve. Time management. We can't manage time. I mean, you got 24 hours.
Yeah.
I got 24 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, Steve, you get so much done. I think you must have more than 24.
No, I don't have 24. I only got 24.
So that is a misnomer. And so I think that we need to realize that we can manage ourselves. And that's with self-control and self-discipline. That's where it is. And that's why we have to have a plan for our life. And, you know, and some of my seminars and workshops, you know, I ask people, I say, you know, do you have a plan for your finances? You know, do you have, you know, RIA, IRAs, you know, plan, savings accounts, you got some investments, you own property, whatever. And is it in writing? And so, you know, a lot of the crowd, they say, yeah, I got a plan for my finances. And then we got, I asked people, do you have a plan for your medical life? I mean, the plan is get a physical each year, you know, watch your blood pressure, maybe your diet, maybe your sleeping habits, all of those are your plan.
Mm-hmm.
And so I then say, okay, what is the most priceless asset you own? What is that? I mean, it's so valuable. It is so precious. And most people will say, it's my family. Family.
That's right.
Family. And so I ask the question, how many of you have a written plan for your family?
Right. That's beautiful.
Less than 2%.
Yeah. Wow.
Less than 2%.
Wow.
So communication is really, really great. And
here's one thing, Kenneth, in the book that I caught my attention, and I want to. We have just a few minutes in this second segment to talk about it, but I want to come back to it in a minute if we don't get through with it.
Okay.
There's a quote in there by Peter Drucker that says the most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said, and that has to do with listening.
Listening, right. Yeah, and in the book, we talk about the 5 levels of listening, all right?
Right.
And, of course, the top level, number 5, is synchronicity.
Mm-hmm.
That is where you walk in the shoes of other people. So, but number 1 is where people, they pretend they're listening. You know, that you go to, you're at a party or something, you're standing around in a group.
Right.
And you're talking away and the people are looking over your shoulder to see if there's another person they might want to go see. So they very passive in what they do, and they don't really get into it. And so this is also where gumption comes. You know, you don't have to be great to start, but you got to start to become great.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where gumption comes in, and that related to this whole idea of communication and listening. You want to listen, as you said, and we want to listen to understand, not to be understood. All right, because our concentration should be on the other people. All right, it always goes back to chapter 1 in the book, where do we really care for other people? See, people don't really care what you know until they know you care and you care for them. And, you know, we want to, by listening and speaking and showing kindness, we want to become the person that everybody can benefit from. We want to make a difference in life. We want to have a purpose in life. And I know we're getting ready to go off here, but one of the things here that I think that we should do is this whole idea of creating legacy. All right. And the creating legacy and having a purpose is the main things in life. And that's what we should do, is to, you know, and backing up just a second, when I start with a brand new coaching client, all right, and we're going through a lot of the things of what's going to happen, where are we going to go, where we are now, and where we'll be in 5 years from now, is that they have a tough time on why. Why am I here? What am I doing? Mm-hmm. What is my purpose in life?
Right.
All right. And they have a tough time doing it. So what I do in about 3 or 4 sessions, and they're still having trouble, I say, okay, let's make an agreement. Our purpose is to create a life of legacy.
Right.
A life of legacy. And we can talk more about that.
Yeah, let's do that. So, Kenneth, thank you so much for talking to us about the communication piece of it, because I was really interested in that part of it. And it was really, really good. But we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back from the break, we're going to talk a little about legacy, and we're going to get more into your newest book. Okay.
So, okay, great.
Yeah, we'll be doing that. So, everyone, we'll be right back to the Leader's Edge.
All right, podcasters, let's be honest for a second. If your show sounds like it was recorded inside of a tin can, in your cousin's basement, in a van down by the river with your dog barking in the background, it's time for an upgrade. That's where 216 Creator Studios comes in, the home of real production, real people who actually know what all those shiny buttons do. They've got pro mics, top-tier editing and lighting that makes everyone look like they slept 8 hours, even if you didn't. Whether you're just starting out or you've been podcasting since people were still saying, smash that like button, give me a thumbs up. 216 Creator Studio helps you sound crisp, confident, and ready for the big leagues. So stop recording in your car, stop arguing with your USB mic, and get into 216 Creator Studios, where your podcast finally sounds as good as you think it does.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Leader's Edge. I'm Steve Steele, your host, with our special guest today, Coach Kenneth O'Neal. So Kenneth, we had a great conversation a little bit about communication in this last segment, and we talked about gumption quite a bit and what gumption was and why you wrote the book and why it came out like that, the way you had it designed. But we're going to talk a little bit about legacy here for a second, and then I want to kind of get into your newest book that you just wrote. So let's talk about legacy.
Okay, as we mentioned in the last segment, I have all of my clients when they can't really decide what is my purpose. I have a client that I've been working with for a couple of years, and he's just doing magnificent. But when he first came to me, I kept telling him, I said, you got this, everything you need. You've got all the skills, you got all the belief system, everything is there. We just need to recognize that and then see what is your purpose, what is your why, and where do you want to go in life? And he said, I can't see it. I can't do that. I mean, I had him sitting up here, within 5 years, he's going to be the president of the organization. He'd be chairman of the board. He'd be all these things. And he said, I can't see it. I just can't see it. I know my background, my past, everything. And so we got to get him out of talking and staying in the past. I mean, they say that most people spend most of their day thinking about the past and all the people that upset them. And I mean, we just got to get out of the past.
That's so true.
And so when I finally got him to agree we're going to co-create a life of legacy. Mm-hmm. All right. And so we'd been working on it for a couple of weeks, and he finally came and he said, Kenneth, I got it. I see it. And now understand what you saw in me, and you pulled it out, and now I see. And my purpose is really to serve others.
Yeah.
Serve others within my company. And so that is legacy. Now, a lot of people, Steve, think legacy has to do with, my grandfather left me $100,000 CD. Mm-hmm. My mother left me 10 acres of land. But that's not what we're talking about. Legacy is not material things. One of the greatest examples I've ever heard of legacy is there were these two brothers that were 40, 45 years old, and their grandfather had passed away a couple of years before. And they were just reminiscing and thinking about the past. And they said, it was wonderful. Remember when we'd go down by the river and Grandpa, he would help us bait our hooks. He'd put the worms on the hook and we'd throw them in there and bang, we'd catch a fish. And later on in life, we figured that, Granddad never caught any fish. See, Granddad was not there for the fishing. He was there for the relationship.
Yes.
And that's the legacy. What do you want people to say about you 100 years from now after you're gone? What are they going to say? And so I have a program that I call legacy creating activities. Mm-hmm. Legacy creating. And let's use the example of a mother and father, and they have 2 or 3 kids. They're in their late 30s, maybe 40. They've got kids that are 6 to 10 or 12. And so the little 6-year-old, the father helps him every morning make his lunch. And they put the lunch in a little paper bag. In the paper bag, the father puts a little note. Steve, I'm looking forward to this afternoon when you get home. And I am so proud of you. You made an A on that spelling test.
Mm-hmm.
Legacy activity. Then you go, let's say on Father's Day, maybe you're in your 50s and your family, because of the way of your activities over the years, by taking them for ice cream and playing catch with them in the backyard, taking them to the beach. And all of a sudden they call you one day and say, hey, Dad, we've been thinking about, we're going to change Father's Day up a little bit. Oh, okay. Well, we know how much you love baseball. So we want to start the tradition of going to a baseball game on Father's Day from now on.
Mm.
And my kids did that about 10 years ago.
Mm.
Legacy. That's legacy. That's a legacy moment.
And Kenneth, the thing about it is that there are some people in this life that really didn't have that kind of legacy in their life.
Right.
But it's never too late to start legacy.
That's right.
Never too late to start. Even if you're let's say you're a young person at age 18 or 20, and maybe you didn't have a lot of legacy in your life. You didn't have a lot of that kind of upbringing, but it's never too late to start. You can always start right now. Even if you're older in life, you can start right now building your legacy, and it's never too late.
It's never too late. It really isn't. And did you know that, all of those changes, you're having, challenges in life and all, it really, really takes someone to sit down, and hopefully that you could have a friend, a really true friend, somebody that you can share things with. But you and I both know that coaching is so important. Everybody needs a coach. Some people need them more than others. Some of my clients I meet with a couple of times a week. Some of them we meet every other week. I've got some clients I meet with once a month. But they're still here and they're working. But we need people that we can relate to, that they can relate to us, and they can ask the tough questions. It's all about the tough questions. And so those thread of questions and getting those answers before you actually give the solution.
That kind of brings up a question I have, Kenneth, and I've kind of always wanted to ask you this question: is that why don't people really, coaching is kind of a thing that's been going on now for a while, but why don't people want to get a coach? They because a coach is like a third party. They just don't have any judgments. They don't have anything like that. Why do people not want? Is it because it costs, or are they afraid to share, or what is it that why they don't want to get a coach?
Well, I think the biggest thing, Steve, is that, decisions are made on 2 Ds, dreams or distress.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that distress is something like you've got your fancy new car parked in the parking lot, and you see a record truck come and pick up your car because you've missed the last 2 payments. That distress coming in because you are out of balance in your financial part of your wheel. All right, and so that's people then, when it comes down to that, they say, oh, I've got to do something. I've got to do something. And then the other thing is people then, when they do it, they have to have a dream. All right. They got, the Bible says a man without a vision shall perish. So visions and dreams. And so that dream, what did you really want in life? And one of the biggest things is you've got to have those goals and those dreams for your life, which then you have a plan for those things. And the reason people don't do them is and they don't do coaching is because nobody's really sat down with them and talked to them and explained how the whole thing works.
All right.
That's why we, in our call to action, you and I, when we're up on a stage or we're talking on the phone, go to my calendar and let's have a conversation. That's all we're talking about. Let's have a conversation. Now, what did we say about conversation and communication? People have low self-esteem, right? But they just, as Tom Ziegler says, he said, the fastest way to success in anything is to replace bad habits with good habits.
I agree.
Okay, if you have a health problem, you have to change your habits. I just finished a 14-week course with a Christian Women's Job Corps. And one of the ladies that was in the class, we were going through our physical part of the spoke on the wheel. And we're talking about sleeping, we're talking about diet, and we're talking about exercise, and how much stress do you have in your life? So she was going down the diet, and we were talking about sodas, Coca-Cola and stuff like that. How bad sodas are for you with all the sugar and everything. Okay. She was drinking 8 Mountain Dews a day. 8. And she was just like this.
That's a lot of caffeine. Yeah.
Caffeine. And so we made that one of her major projects, is to begin to eliminate Mountain Dews.
Yep.
And when we finished the class a couple of weeks before we finished, she was drinking more and more water and drinking no Mountain Dews.
Wow, that's beautiful.
But
that's
see,
wonderful.
We had a plan though for it. All right. And when things happen, like things of nature, hurricanes and tornadoes, they get a lot of paper. Everybody's all talking about it. The thing that causes some of the most danger, though, are termites, and they only just bite it just a little bit.
A little bit at a time.
Little bit. Well, we want to take it to the positive side. You and I, on Saturday, we cannot run a marathon. We cannot do it, Steve. I know you want to, but you can't do it.
I admit it. There's no way.
But I'd be willing to bet you that if we sat down and we write a plan, we're going to run a mile this week, we're going to run 2 miles the next week, we're going to start eating more protein. We put a plan together. Next year, Steve, we could take a hack at it.
Good.
But we could take a hack at it. We could do it. So see, what that's doing is putting into systems. See, the roots, the foundational roots, the principles of Zig Ziglar, the principles that come out of the Bible, those are the roots of all these systems that we talk about.
And that's what your new book is about.
That's what it's about, is all of those systems that we put in place. And what we're looking for is the fruits of those roots.
Yes.
Those roots must be favorable. They've got to be taken care of. Let's just look at the root that says mental input. Mental input. You have to guard what you put in your mind.
Yes.
Your mental input.
You do.
The books you read, how many times have you heard? You're going to be changed by the books you read and the people you associate with.
That's right.
So you must watch the books. What do you do? What is the music you listen to? What are the movies you go to? What is the TV? What are the people? Now, see, mental, those people with toxicity, and they don't support you. They don't give you encouragement. You need to get those people out of your life.
Yeah.
Get them out. That toxicity, you can't. And, we have all these mental health issues. So once again, we go back to this word communication. Communication. And when you're getting negativity coming into your life, you got to have these guidelines that say, no, I am not doing it anymore.
Ah, that's beautiful. I love it, Kenneth. I love it. So, Kenneth, we got about 3 minutes here, and I want you to take about 30 seconds or so and tell us how we can, if people want to get a hold of your book, how they can do it.
Okay, so all of the books are on Amazon. You can get them on Amazon. You can watch for a book signing wherever I'm at. But I got to quickly tell you that book you're listening right there, Gumption, Circle of Gumption. Okay, there's 2 children's books that came out of this. Okay, and this children's book right here is The Long Lost Power of Gumption. And the little boy, he's a rabbit, and he makes a D on his report card. And I took it from C.S. Lewis. I sent him on a journey to find gumption. And that Circle of Gumption actually is really big on forgiveness. But they can get a hold of me at merger, MERGER, at windstream.net. They can go to my website, which is www.croneal, KRONEAL.com, and they can make an appointment. I'd love to have a conversation, love to have coffee. I love meeting people. My next friend is somebody I've never met. Okay, so
there you go. There you go.
Send me a text. I'm gonna give them a telephone number, 830-285-7010, and send me a text, and I'll call you back. But Steve, I want to thank you so much.
Oh, you're more than welcome, Kenneth. You're more than welcome. Love you, brother. You're doing a great work, and I appreciate everything you do. But we'll have you back. We'll get you back on the show at some time, and we'll talk about some more things.
Okay.
But next week, join me as I welcome inspiring guest Coach Remy O'Delly on Unlocking the Parent-Teen Connect Code, where you discover essential skills to build trust and deepen your relationship with your teen, transforming everyday interactions into lasting connections. And just as a reminder, you can find The Leader's Edge on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen for your favorite podcasts. If you find value in these conversations, please hit subscribe or the follow button to stay connected. I wanted to thank all of you, all of our listeners and friends, because without you, The Leader's Edge would not be possible. I'm so grateful to have you here, and I'm so excited to connect with you next time. Bye, everyone.